Hello everybody, welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find stories and fan fictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Quickly, before we dive in, I do want to quickly say that all the stories here are fan fictions and they're not connected to the main continuity, and copyright is not intended. So let's dive in with Power Rangers Future Foundation. The last time we saw Power Rangers Future Foundation, they were working on Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, before he had to leave and go chase after Nephis, and Dante left for Universe 19. This chapter specifically is incredibly important, as it dives into some of the backstory and the lore of Universe 113. That being said, let's dive into this chapter.
Welcome to Universe 113. A place where an old evil has continued its quest for ultimate power, starting by kidnapping previous Rangers and stealing their powers. But not all is lost, as a new generation of Rangers is born, bringing new life to the legendary powers that came before them. They are the new heroes of Earth. They are Power Rangers Future Foundation.
Power Rangers Future Foundation, Chapter 19, Logan and Lucicon, The History of Universe 113. Logan walked through the middle of a dark, tall, overtowering forest, Service walking slowly behind him, his hands cuffed and chained, the chain dragged between them, Logan holding onto the chain tightly. The weather was sunny and humid, the trees made good cover from the intense heat, but the breeze that blew was gentle and danced around the trees. "Can we stop for a minute? We've been walking like this for a day straight," Service complained. Logan stopped, sighed, then he turned around and walked up to Service, getting right into his face. "Don't make me laugh. You're a human, yes, but your body has been DNA altered with that of Lord Zed. You're stronger, more durable than everyone around, so don't play innocent and weak," Logan growled. Then he turned back around and carried on walking, yanking the chain. Service was pulled forward and carried on dragging himself along. A couple more hours went by as they headed deeper into the forest, when suddenly Logan stopped and looked around. Gazing through the trees, he held out his hand and a purple light shimmered in front of him. "Here we are," he muttered. Then, with his Zanaku arm, he threw a punch, and a crack ripped through the space in front of him, and then it split open like a translucent wall being broke. Logan and Service looked through the energy crack, and the forest was darker, more of a purple and burgundy hue to the atmosphere on the other side. Logan looked at the worried Service, then he pulled Service through the cracked wall into the other side. Then as they climbed through the crack, it sealed back up behind them. "What the hell was that?" Service blurted. "Welcome to the Yin-verse," Logan replied. "The Yin-verse?" Service questioned. "You truly have forgotten, haven't you?" Logan asked. Service looked at Logan with a raised eyebrow. Then Logan pulled the chain, making Service walking behind him once more, leading him through the forest. This time the sky was a dull purple, the trees a darker green than usual. Service walked with his mouth wide open, completely in shock. Then a big prison building came into view, built deep within a hillside, sandwiched between the two massive hilltops, full of blossoming trees. "What's that?" Service asked. "That's home," Logan responded. Logan led Service into the prison. They wandered around the abandoned building. They walked into what should have been a white room, but the time and the lack of maintenance left the room black, green and brown. There were doctor's equipment scattered all across the room. Several beds also were placed in the room, well, half clean and some filthy, with broken handcuffs attached to the bars. In one corner was glass containing green liquids, a big glass container built into one corner, big enough to hold any human, maybe two. "Before you ask, yes, we were made here," Logan said. "I have images, but I can't make a solid picture," Service replied. Service sat down on a chair, and Logan leant against the wall. "Where are we, Logan?" "Why is the sky purple?" Service barked. "We're in the Yin-verse," Logan replied once more. "Fine. What is the Yin-verse?" Service asked through clenched teeth. Universe 113. Well, that's what Dante calls it anyway. It used to be different. It used to be a wonderful universe. Made of nature, technology, magic, negativity, positivity, and of course, the morphing grid. Well, nature, technology, and magic had representations. The Princess of Nature fell for two brothers, princes of magic. They fell in love with her both very hard. But technology used negativity to harm the universe, making monsters, like it always does. The morphing grid, as always, stepped in and gave the world Power Rangers. This time a team like no other. Well, the Princess of Nature fell ill and died. Both brothers wanted to fix this. They were strong enough to do so. They used their magic to freeze the universe in place, and the Rangers would not let their plan happen, so they also were frozen. What was their plan? Service asked, intrigued. Well, as they grew up and became the men they were, they disagreed a lot about different things, but mostly about the unity between magic, nature, and technology. And their love for the princess was one thing they actually had in common. So they came up with an idea. They used their power to rewind time, back to the beginning of the universe. Then they split the universe directly in two. But it wasn't exactly a direct line, more of a curvy shape. One side kept everything was normal, exactly the same. Good versus evil, blue versus red, rangers versus monsters. Technology took over the humans and slowly killing the Earth. We know that as the Yangverse. That's where we just was. Everything just seems like normal life there. Here is the inverse, the place we stand now, where magic and technology fell into war, and still is. There's a full-blown forest full of living, breathing life. More so even. Then half the world is magic users, and the other side of the world is technology users. Both the brothers split the princess into two different people. Neither version remembered their life beforehand, luckily, and the brothers took their reign over their respective side of the universe, and ruled with their own queen, Logan explained. That sounds insane. So we're in the universe where magic and tech are in war with each other? Service asked. Logan nodded. And they share the same plane of existence? Service asked, confused. Think of it as two pictures. You tear both in half and put them right side of one picture to the left side of the other picture, making a whole new picture. Kinda like that, Logan told him. Okay, I think I get it, but why are we in a prison? Service asked. Well, with magic and technology at war, the forest gets left alone, leaving several companies to use it as a base, where some mad genius thought it would be a good idea to make humans into hosts to try and place the souls of all rangers, and the souls of all villains, to rebirth them in a way. They needed a place to do those experiments. Well, the ranger side kinda got forgotten about once they learned that ranger powers could also be transferred, so that was forgotten. They needed a place to alter bodies, look after them, let them recuperate from the enhancements, keep an eye on them, and manage to get their DNA of a lot of villains, some bigger than most, and we were made, Logan explained. So I got Lord Zed, and you got Zenaku. How many more of us are there? Service asked. Well, when we all broke out and we grabbed their portal devices and we all fled, you're the only other one I found since that day, Logan told him. Service stood up and walked over to Logan, holding out his bound hands. Untie me. I'll help you with whatever the hell we're doing here, Service said, looking Logan dead in the eye. Logan sighed, then pulled out his knife flute and sliced down, cutting the cuffs. Service pulled his hands free and the chain dropped to the floor. Thank you, Service muttered. Logan then bolted forward and placed his knife to his throat. You make one wrong move, and I'll end you, Logan snapped. Yeah, I got it, Service grunted. Logan lowered his knife, then suddenly a flash of black and purple came from the window. Both men bolted to the window, peering through, seeing Lucicon and both his mutant generals stood in the courtyard. He's back, and he's in his orc form, Service stated. Yeah, I can see that, Logan grunted. Why is he here? Service asked. Logan saw the 3 small crystal orbs in his hands. He's here for his family, Logan muttered. How'd you know that? Service asked. Those crystals are fake souls. They bring someone back from the dead. but they're soul tied to someone living. So if Lucicon dies and loses all his forms and actually dies, then the 3 people he's bringing back will die too. If they don't die beforehand, Logan told him. Both boys watched the 3 monsters as they walked away. They headed to the gardens. Logan told Service. How do you know this? Service asked. That is where his family are buried, Logan barked. Then Logan bolted and fled the room. Service took a deep breath and followed Logan. In the Yang verse, Lucicon stood there muttering some spell. His orc body would be damaged for some time, but to him it was worth it. His 2 mutant generals, Screwhead and Chuckster, stood beside him. The rather large, obese mutant and the tall, thin Yankee mutant stood there in shock as a crack started to open. Almost there, my love, Lucicon muttered. Lucicon stood there as a memory flooded his mind. He tried to hold them back, but the complete blankness his mind needed for the spell allowed the memories to play like a movie reel. He saw his first ever memory, him waking up in the prison in the Yin-verse, in his original human form, tied to a bed, several tubes in his arm, with an array of different coloured liquids being pumped into him. He then saw the doctor in charge of him and the experiment. Project Lucicon, you're awake, the doctor said. What did you call me? He asked. Well, you didn't have a name tag on you when you came in, so we've been calling you Project Lucicon, as that's what your project is, the doctor responded. What's Project Lucicon? He asked him, his mouth dry and scratchy. It's a DNA project alignment to your body of a perfect balance, of pure evil and pure good. We're hoping to alter your DNA of that of a mutant, an orc, a demon, certain aliens like the Trubians, dinosaur mutations, etc., etc. When your alterations are done, and you can do that, we want to link you to an animal spirit. Then the hard part, modify you so you can tap into the morphin grid and become a Power Ranger, the doctor explained. But why? He muttered. This is the point of this experiment. The project new form, making warriors out of all Ranger villains, is just a cover-up. We're actually making a saviour for the entire universe, for all the universe, for every world, for both halves of it, and that's you, he told him. Lucicon stood there as the crack formed and the memory played away. He then stopped the spell. Finally finished. Now quickly walk through, Lucicon demanded, and he walked through. The 2 generals followed. The crack closed behind them as they walked in and out into the Yin-verse. Lucicon breathed in the Yin-verse air. He stood there in the courtyard and the prison to his left. Come on, we must hurry, Lucicon barked. Then, with the 3 crystal orbs in hand, he fled up away from the prison entrance and led the mutants to the prison gardens. Lucicon stood there on the glorious flower patch, his family buried beneath. It's time. I will use the Power Ranger energy I stole from that brat Dante to activate the orbs, Lucicon said. Then he held out his hand and the 3 orbs started glowing and floating in the air. The Ranger energy poured out of Lucicon's hand and seeped into the 3 orbs. More memories flashed through his mind. A few months had passed since he first woke up, and he gained quite the friendship with a young scientist, the doctor. His name was Isaac. Isaac led him into the chamber in a basement where a huge table was placed with massive robotic arms were placed overhead. Next to the bed were a tray with several crystal small slivers, all of different colours. Isaac explained that though his DNA was now altered to actually change his human flesh to those monsters and aliens and creatures was incredibly dangerous. So they made these crystals which acted as a chamber for each power set, allowing his body to change but not his mind. There also was a homing beacon for his body to tap into the right power when called upon. He was strapped to a huge table and the procedure started. Several long, painful hours dragged on, and then several hours of rest after. Then he stood there in front of everyone with a ring of crystals on the front of his left shoulder, a little off the side to his lung. He stood there, and the thought of an aura came to his mind, and the blue crystal started glowing. Then in a flash of light he was transformed into an orc. He then did it again and thought of a Nylok and shifted into his Nylok form. Everyone cheered and clapped as the experiment was completely successful. Then the training began. He would fight other experiments, each one wielding weapons and powers from previous villains of Power Rangers. He gotten stronger and learned how to wield his powers with great ease. Lucicon stood there muttering when suddenly the orbs bolted into the ground. Thankfully to him, their memories disappeared. The orbs started digging through the soft mud, dispensing their energy as they went, fusing themselves to the corpses they found that lay beneath the grass. Then a small glimmer of light left Lucicon's body and faded away in front of him. I sacrifice a piece of myself to aid in their reincarnation, Lucicon muttered. Suddenly 3 explosions erupted from the ground, and suddenly 3 monsters stood there. One was tall and skinny, a woman. She was all white with big black and pink thick symbiotic-like armor veins running all over her body. Her head resembled that of a closed flower bud, and her face was like a masquerade mask, and she carried a closed umbrella made of ivy and roots. The middle one was a bulky, muscly, hunched-over monster with his body resembling of that of a bear. His hands were massive and he had claw-like gauntlets on. He was silver and half his torso was transparent, making it so you could see the middle of his chest. You could see all the cogs and wires that made him work. The third and final one was shorter than the 3, and he looked like a wizard. He had a black demonic mask as a face. He had a black and purple pointy wizard hat. He wore purple and black wizard robes and carried a purple scepter. My queen, Hedera, my brother Ursa, and my son Minima. Welcome to the world of the living, Lucicon cheered. My dear, how are we alive? What did you do, my love? Hedera asked. I brought you back. I had some help, though, Lucicon said as he walked over to his wife and leaned into her. Brother, it is good to see you, Ursa growled. It is, brother, Lucicon replied. Hello, father, Minima said. Hello, son, welcome back, Lucicon said, placing his hand on his son. Why, dear, you have a crystal missing, Hedera called out. Who took this form? Hedera asked. Who took a form of your brother? Tell us, Ursa growled. Well, we have Power Rangers again. They are getting in the way, Lucicon explained. But the Rangers have never gotten in the way. We managed to stop the last team, Hedera snapped. I might have ruffled a few feathers. They are unique, to say the least, Lucicon sighed. Brother, we are in the Yinverse. We've got to get out of here, Ursa muttered. Yes, we will leave now. Minima, can you get us out of here? Lucicon asked. Yes, father. Back to the Yangverse we go, Minima called out, and then he raised his scepter, and in a flash of purple, the 4 monster family and the 2 monster generals vanished. Logan and Servus watched everything unfold from the door that led out of the building. That's his family, Servus stated. Yes, the brother and the son were made for him. The wife, I'm not too sure, Logan replied. Was she human? Servus asked. Well, I don't know. But I do know this. By this point, we all know each other, and Lucicon, being everyone's favourite person, got all the attention, including Isaac's sister. She and him fell in love, and he would sneak out to go see her. Well, we were never allowed to leave the grounds without a bodyguard, in case we were found by someone. One side of the forest, a bunch of cities, the other side magic tribes, so we were secluded, yes, but surrounded nevertheless. Well, one day, he was caught by a scout, and ended up in a fight. Lucicon won, but the scout died. He returned covered in blood, his face white as ever. We actually found him, and we helped clean him up, but the commanders found out anyway. We got in trouble, and the normal humans got harsh. They started treating us like animals, punishing us. They started using the prison facilities properly, and eventually, we snapped. We fought back. We teamed up, and we eventually broke out. This prison became a battleground. They wanted an army of human monsters. That's exactly what they got. Isaac died, which Lucicon took very hard, and his sister decided to stay with Lucicon. We all went our separate ways, and I went to the Angverse. I assume That's Isaac's sister, Logan explained. Whoa. Service stood there a little gobsmacked. Now come on, we've got work to do, Logan said, walking away through the hallways of the prison. Wait, what are we actually doing here? Service asked. This is quite a big prison. There's a few people that never actually left. They deemed themselves too dangerous, so they went into some form of cryo-status sleeping sort of... Though time isn't affecting them, they're alive. Hopefully no one found them, Logan stated as he pushed open a double set of doors. So we're gonna wake these people up? Service asked. We need them, Logan said, and carried on walking. Service followed close behind.
Hey listener, this is a not paid for product placement for the Zero to Hero podcast.
What do you mean
If you
not
definitely
paid?
like what you're listening to now, come on over to the Zero to Hero podcast.
Lights on. Just
Anywhere you want to be able to find your podcast
the
at,
trash bills
like
due
Apple
next week.
Podcasts,
What the-
Spotify, Amazon Podcasts,
How the
and
hell
Google
am I gonna get
Podcasts,
my
which
God
still a little
poison
weird.
for the next 2 weeks? All
Come
the
on over
pre-orders are
and
starting
enjoy
to
yourself
drop.
and listen to Billy and myself bicker, argue, and,
Speak
well,
of the
fight
dog,
about a lot of
no
things,
goddamn
as we
doctor
are the
for
bulk
the
and
next
skull
2
of
weeks.
podcasting.
How the hell am I
Good
going
luck
to
out there, and welcome back to the show.
Lucicon and his new awakened family teleported into the lair beneath the sleeping volcano that was several miles away from Summer City. Hidera sat on one of the thrones and pulled out a fan and started fanning herself. Ursa walked around the room examining everything, and Minima walked out of the throne room to find a room to claim as his own. The two monstrous lovers got into a conversation about old times. My love, please, explain to me. I'm very confused. My memory seems to be foggy, Hidera asked Lucicon. Well, when I was graced with a human form, and us experiments broke free, of course I was in love. My soul brother Isaac died in the chaos. When I returned his body to the Yangverse to find his home, I found his son, who we took on, and as an orphan of myself, I felt like I had to. And of course, Isaac told me all about him. We kept traveling, fighting for survival, jumping between the Yangverse and the Yinverse when we could. Then they caught up. The original buyers of the project wanted their money's worth. They came with armies and power. Even the Rangers got involved and tried to destroy me. They were old now, weaker, and they failed. But they were at their wits' end. It was to fulfill my destiny as the ultimate creature of the universe. I needed to be the perfect balance. All I needed now was to gain the powers from Rangers. But I was at a dilemma. Gain the power of the Rangers, or follow my new family. That is when I met the banker, or Morningstar as he's actually named. He was the destructor of universes. He gave me an out. He said I must complete my mission, but the banker is also a family man, so he understood. He split me into two beings. My human half stayed in the Yinverse, and lives in one of the cities there. It's a usual phenomenon having one person with two versions of themselves in both sides of the universe. His job is to keep the universe in chaos, by making Rangers and forcing events to happen, keeping the war between nature, technology, and magic. His love and his adopted child live with him. I was made the monster half, with all his other forms, now acting as lifelines. The human half has two lifelines, two crystals bedded inside of him, just in case. But I became jealous of humans. I wanted myself a family. Trying to collect powers from Rangers got tedious. When walking through the pits of the netherworld, I found you, my love, bathing in all your glory. And of course we had Minima. And obviously I found Ursa, and made him a brother. after we fought the Samurai and Ninja Ranger team-up. And of course we won, Lucicon explained. Then he sat next to his queen and placed his hand on hers. Brother, I must go find my queen. She must be somewhere, Ursa said. Well, of course, brother, go. She was last seen when you blew up Angel Groves to smithereens. I have not seen her since your demise, Lucicon told him. I did what I had to do to kill that Gold Ranger, Ursa grunted. Yes, I know. I would start in the Angel Groves Memorial Ground. She was seen in Blessington, apparently, Lucicon told his brother. I shall leave at once, Ursa said. Then he left the throne room. Several minutes later, Minima walked in holding a clay figure. I made this, father, Minima said, presenting the figure. I hate the fact you learnt that off that little fiend Finster, Lucicon muttered. Please, my love, it's healthy. A boy his age has to be creative, Hadira sighed. Plus, father, I can do this, Minima chirped. Then he aimed his scepter, and a bolt of purple lightning zapped from his scepter and hit the figure, and then in a flash of light the clay figure became a life-size, alive monster. Let's cause some havoc, the monster roared. I thought we could start by dealing with those pesky rangers you've been telling us about, Minima snickered. Well done, my boy, Lucicon cheered. In the place of that time and space, William Cranston sat there, aligning the new black chess pieces with Lucicon's, each one representing the new resurrected family members. Then he placed the Ranger chess pieces, the white chess pieces with a yellow, blue, pink and red bases, each one representing the Future Foundation Ranger team. Dante's piece was not on the board due to him being in Universe 19 for the time being. Logan's chess piece was on the new Future Foundation chessboard already. It was a testing phase. As Logan was in the universe, William sat there and took a deep breath. We've been playing in the Little League so far. Time to get serious, William said to himself. He took off his glasses and wiped the lenses with his sleeve, then pushed them back on his face. Then a grin appeared on his face as he stared at the new Universe 113 chessboard. It was triple the size and was sectioned off into several sections, each section representing a different team of Rangers. One section left for something else. William stood there, waiting. There we have it, guys. That is the chapter. I do apologise for this one being a little longer than usual, but like I said, it was an important chapter. Now you know the story of Universe 113 and understand Lucicon and Logan a bit more. Now I do want to take this time to give a little nod to the Three Ranger Bros. The Three Ranger Bros Studio is a collaboration and combination of three special people, myself and Cosplay Dude 637 with his Power Rangers Universe 19 podcast. You can find all his story, Power Rangers and Kamen Rider stories on there, and you can find him everywhere that you listen to podcasts. Then there's Mark, the Red Corner Ranger, with his Nerd True Comics podcast, where he's adapting comic books into audio dramas and now including some of his original content as well very soon. Also, you can find him wherever you listen to your podcasts. Then we're in association with Zero to Hero, a podcast where Billy and Jim, the Balkan Scholar Podcasting, talk about literal everything and have a blast whilst doing it. All three of our Ranger Bros have been on the podcast several times now. So make sure you go follow them and go check them out everywhere that you listen to your podcast too. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a new story, and I shall see you guys really soon.